Hey folks, Frank Zorrilla here, Zor Capital, November 17th, Sunday, 4:41 in the afternoon. Doing a quick video in regards to the market to see if we can find some winning stocks for next week, specifically for tomorrow. But first, let's take a look at the market. Like I say every week, I don't talk much about the market because, very simply, there's not much to say about the market on a day-to-day basis or on a weekly basis. I believe you should own the SPY, the Qs, the IWMs as core holdings, and the day-to-day action is pretty much irrelevant and just very simply just noise. However, as swing traders, sometimes what the market is doing and what it's about to do, what you think it's going to do, matters to swing trades in the short term. We've been talking about the SPY and the Qs and the SPY and the Qs, trading above their weekly Bollinger Bands, which in the past, very small sample size, it's led to sideways to down action, like right over here and right over here. Right over here when it got above really quickly. But so far, nothing has mattered. Stocks have been going higher, marching higher. And as long as a swing trader, as long as the stocks underneath the surface are working out, that's pretty much what matters. This action over here, look, I'm a firm believer that no matter what's going on, whether you're trading at a 52-week high, all-time high, 1-year high, 3-year high, 52-week low, the market goes up and down, not up or down. There's no such thing as blue sky territory and we're going higher. We always get pullbacks. And all you have to do is take a look at this weekly chart of the S&P 500. Okay? Here, it was a high. 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 A high. So the market goes up and down, not up or down. We're up 6 weeks in a row. Seasonally, if I remember correctly, next week, this coming week, is somewhat a little weak, and then it gets a little bit stronger again for Thanksgiving week, and then it gets a little bit shaky in the first couple of weeks of December as people start to, sell for tax reasons, okay? So let's keep that in mind. But now, let's take a look at the top 200 momentum names to see if we can find some winners for next week. As we're going through these names, just to give you a quick heads up, most of these stocks that have very high momentum, the reason why they have very high momentum because they're up a lot. They had a big move. Most of these names are not known names. You don't know who they are. Some of them don't make money. Most of them might be biotech stocks, technology stocks, pharmaceutical stocks. Some of them make money, some of them don't make any money at all, but they have momentum behind them, okay? And what we're looking for is we're looking for momentum stocks that are going through some type of consolidation, sideways action, and we're looking to catch a second leg higher. For example, CNST, here's a stock that made a big move from $15 to roughly $45. I'm going to take a wild guess and say that this was some type of FDA news or phase 2, phase 3 result, whatever the case may be. And it had a big move. Those who held the stock beforehand, great. But most swing traders, you're not going to be involved in this first initial move. What you're going to look for right now is for some sideways action, some consolidation for the next 15 to 20 days. And what you start to see is you start to see some of these candles start to tighten up. And at the very end of the move, you normally see an inside day or an NR7 day, which is a very tight candle, very small volume. And that usually tells you the stock is ready to move higher. So let's keep going to see if we can find some stocks and some examples. Here's INMD, which is, somewhat similar. Had a, decent move, 25 to 30. It goes sideways for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You can see how these candles, they start to tighten up. Here you have an inside day, okay? Now look at this. Here you have an inside day. All that means is that today's highs is lower than the previous day high, and today's low is higher than the previous day low, which means you have a candle that fits inside the previous day candle. But take a look at the volume. The average daily volume of the stock is 789,000 shares. It traded 397,000 shares. Okay, for me, this would have been the candle, and I would have put a buy stop 10 cents above this high. It didn't happen the following day, but it did happen the day after. And here I went long, at 32, long through 32, the previous day high, and then it had to move higher. You can't count this move because this was due to earnings, but the stock went from $32 to $35 a share. Okay, and what happens is that most stocks, you would notice they trade small momentum bursts where, they go up for 3 to 5, maybe 6 days. Like for example here, 1, 2, 3, big move, sideways action. And that's the way most stocks trade. 1, 2, 3, sideways action, 3 to 5 days. What you're going to get within this momentum burst, we have no idea. A lot of it has to do with the market. If you're getting involved in a small cap company that has a low flow, depending on market conditions, it might be 5 to 20%. Large cap company, high price, high flow. Now we're talking in dollar terms. Let's see if we can find some stuff here. Here MR. Stock is obviously a recent IPO from this year. Wrong sector, oil sector. Oil sector, sellers in control since the IPO. What you can see here, how do we know that? It's because the stock, every time it hits a 10-day and 20-day moving average, which is the white dotted line and the yellow dotted line, you have sellers, okay? Finally, what we have is here that all, you have a bow tie, the moving averages are hugging, and what that means is that the 10-day, 20-day, 63-day moving average are all hugging. What that tells you is that this stock has done nothing at all, pretty much sideways action. You get a gap higher here on 1.6 million shares when the average daily volume is 359. So that's something, it might have been some type of news. And then you get a gap here also on 2 million shares, okay? Relative speaking, that's a decent volume for this stock that doesn't trade much. Here's a stock that's got, some recent momentum. I like the stock going through 594. Okay, so MR 594 with a stop right over here. My initial stop at 555, and then as the stock starts to move higher, that stop goes higher. The following day to 558, higher, higher, and higher. The target here is up. Okay, we have no idea that what the stock is going to give us over the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days. Okay, what we're looking to do is to ride this momentum burst and get off as the momentum starts to slow down. That's what swing trading is all about, and that's the reason why you don't want to chase stocks that are up multiple days in a row, because this is the way the market trades. This is the way stocks trade. They go up, sideways to down. What you get within this time frame, it's hard to tell. A lot of it depends on market conditions. But here's a stock, $211 million market cap. That's a very small market cap, which means very simply that you can possibly get anywhere between 5 to 20% in the next 3 to 5 days if it works out, and the market cooperates. So to reiterate, what we're looking for is stock that has a strong move like this, and we're looking for some type of consolidation. Here's a stock had a strong move from, call it $35 a share to 40 or 45. Now sideways action. Here we have an inside day. Actually, no, almost an inside day. Here we have an inside day, and look at the volume. This must have been due to earnings. I like the stock going through 42.11 with a initial stop right over here at 41.04. That is KOP. Now, we don't, my buy stop on KOP is 10 cents above the high, the Friday's highs. We don't know if that's going to happen. If it doesn't happen, then the trade is not on. I've noticed a lot of oil stocks are kind of like firming up a little bit. A lot of them printed inside days. And you always want to be in the lookout when a sector like the oil sector or the gold sector, very volatile sectors, once they print an inside day, you want to be aware of that, because it's rare, and it usually signifies that the move is coming. Here's another one that, we flagged this one last week, and it finally set up right here on Monday. I went long 11-12 going through this high right over here at 438. Immediately went to 460, but it gave it all back and it stopped me out right over here at 420, I believe. But this one still looks good, okay? Still looks good. Down 3 days in a row, which is a mean that's a mean reversion play for me. So here I like to start going through 427 with a stop here at 414 LLNW. All right, we're going through 71 names. ALGN is another one that we flagged also last week. Up big on big volume relative to the stock. Stock trades 997,000 shares on average. Traded 4 million shares in this day, and it starts to move sideways here. Long 11-12, 260.91, double inside day. Inside day. Look at the volume, how it contracted. Here, another inside day on lower volume, and now it starts to move higher. I'm still long the stock at bought at 260.91, bought more at 261.42, cost 261.01. And my original stop on this stock was, I believe here, 256, I think, or 255.65. The stop now is 259.20. So I've increased the actual stop without choking the trade. Let's see what else we have here. AMK up big, 7 million shares. Trade 746,000 shares on average. Here in this day, earnings, stock trades 7 million shares, which is huge. Starts, goes up, goes down. Now here it starts to consolidate. Candles start to get a little tight. I bought this stock on Friday through this high right over here, long at 13.15. Through the previous day highs, a top momentum stock, number one. Number two, it's an earnings play where you might have the post-earnings drift that usually happens when stocks react like this to earnings. I know there was some call buying on Friday as well. So either way, my stop is right over here at 1268. As the stock starts to move higher, I'm going to sell some on the way up and raise my stop accordingly. Here's Vico. And look, and here's what happens with some of these stocks. Here's Hovanian that's up roughly about 300% from the lows here. You read a lot of books that tell you you can't buy stocks at 52-week lows. It has too much resistance because you have all these guys here who bought here who are looking to unload. This over here, this type of move like this doesn't look like resistance to me, like any resistance at all. The stock is up roughly 300%. And here, you see the stock dominated by the sellers. This move here, you're not going to catch. Unless you're buying the stock based on fundamentals and you're a fundamental buyer, you're not going to catch this move. But here you get the opportunity as it trades and it goes sideways. And then it goes up again for a few days and then sideways again. And here you get the opportunity again. The candles, look how they start to get a little bit tighter and then moves up. Okay? And it goes up from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This is not what typically happens with stocks, but you get that big little momentum burst and then sideways to down. Loco reported their numbers. The stock is it's not bad, okay? Traded 3.3 million shares in this day. This is the anchor VWAP from this big update, which I tend to put in all the stocks that have big moves like this on heavy volume. This looks okay. I'm not gonna flag it for tomorrow. All right, so we're at 112 names right now. MUSA. I had this on my list on Thursday. I did not take it, but this is exactly what I'm talking about. 2.5 million shares when the average daily volume is 275,000 shares. It came out with their numbers, 218 versus 138. Stock moves up. You don't want to chase unless you're a day trader. You can trade this candle within the day, but then you get the sideways action, right? Loose, 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 and then it starts to get tighter and tighter and tighter. The volume starts to contract, and then now you want the second move higher. Here's another stock very similar to HOV. Sellers, 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 reverse split, and then suddenly it spikes up. And these guys more than likely, the people who've held this stock for a long time, you can tell that they've been giving up. They already gave up on the stock. Okay, they gave up on the stock all through all this. Okay, done. Okay, so that's the reason why when these things go up, what you read in the textbooks that, you're going to have resistance from previous buyers. They're no longer there. They were washed out right over here. SPAR looks okay. Yeah, triple inside day. Okay, so inside day, inside day, inside day, up on big volume relative to the stock, probably based on earnings. Prints an inside day. I like the stock going through 1793. SPAR with a initial stop right over here. Call it 1720. Give us some room. So like I said at the beginning of the video, most of these names, you don't recognize most of these names. These are not the household names, but the point is that what works in the short term, in my opinion, is momentum and mean reversion, okay? And the stocks that have the highest momentum are usually small names that we are not aware of, that we don't know what they are. Most of these names don't make any money. They move for whatever reason. Sometimes they're unknown. Sometimes there's no reason why they move. It's just momentum. Here we have Rite Aid, which we flagged last week. I like the stock a lot, okay? Very similar to Hovanian and very similar to Fran. Sellers have been in control for a long time, and then finally here the stock does a reverse split and the buyers and sellers find equilibrium, okay? Either the sellers are running out of supply or the buyers are just gobbling up the supply. And here they start getting a little bit more aggressive here. How do we know that? You see a pattern of higher lows. They're no longer waiting for the stock to get down here. You have higher lows, higher lows, higher lows. I like the stock. Again, I bought this stock right over here in 1112. I got stopped out right over here in this candle. I like the stock going through 993 with a buy stop at 1003 and a stop loss right over here. Call it, 940. So Rite Aid is one that I like a lot. 993. Okay, because again, the bigger the base, the higher into space it goes. If you're into, the classic technical analysis, you take the low right over here, the average low, which is roughly $6 a share. You take 10, gives you a measure move of $14 a share, if you're into that stuff. Let's see, what else do we have here? Here's another one. Bed Bath & Beyond, okay? Like Fran, like Hovanian, like Rite Aid. Sellers are in control. Stock moves up from roughly $8 a share to 11. That's almost a 50% move. It gaps higher on tremendous volume, 51 million shares. Take note. Here's the Anchor VWAP by Brian Shannon, which I think it's a great tool, by the way. I don't know if you can get entries off of it, but you're going to start to realize that these VWAPs, these Anchor VWAPs, the actual price action of the stocks reacted very well around the VWAP, around these big volume days where the stock is up a lot. As you can see right over here, how it pretty much respected the VWAP. Here we had a big flush, came right back above. Here I went long the stock on 1114. Stock was down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days in a row. I went through, I got long through this high, which was 1366. 10 cents above was my buy stop, hit at 1378. Top momentum stock, and again has some type of catalyst here that you have to assume that the stock went up 20% on 51 million shares, that this catalyst here drove someone to buy the stock in a very big way. They believe a turnaround is coming, and that's the assumption. But for me, what I'm looking for is a 3 to 5 day move, and this day over here, when 11:14 was the first day of the move, and that's what swing trading is all about. You are in the moving business, okay? What you want to do is you want to get involved in the first day of a range expansion when the stock is finally moving up, and you want to get off the train in days 3, 4, 5, 6, and then take that money and get involved in the next train that's just getting started, the first day of the move. You don't want to go and jump on a stock that's already up 1, 2, 3, 4 days in a row, and finally it's the talk of the town on Twitter, and then what you have is a small blip higher, and then you have a pullback. Okay, this is the way stocks trade. They go up and they go sideways to down. So you want to take advantage of that short-term momentum burst. Here's another one, Habit. It trades here roughly 2 million shares, 2.2. Again, that's not a lot of volume, but again, relative to this stock that trades roughly 313,000 shares, that's not bad. I'm going to flag this one for the future, not for tomorrow. All right, we're at 169 names. I'm looking for stocks that are ready for tomorrow. Here's something I'm going to flag. Okay, very similar to Friday. I think it's been trading sideways for a few months already. Okay, after the sellers dominated the stock, Clearwater paper products. Again, look, this stock looks, it looks good actually. Okay, sideways from April to pretty much now. You get the pattern of higher lows right over here. Stock is down 3 days in a row. It hits pretty much the top of the box, and it rebounds in a very nice way. The high is 21.97. My 21.97. My buy stop will be 22.07 with a stop here, 21.13. Call it 20.90. That'll be the stop, the initial stop, and that is CLW. And just to reiterate, tomorrow so far we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 names in the list. Okay, we don't know if these stocks are going to trigger, whether they're going to go through the high or not. If they don't go through the high, to the previous day high plus 10 cents, then I'm not getting involved with the stock. And then we'll have to look at them after Monday's close to see if they're still setting up. So that's the top 200 names based on momentum. Again, not a single name that we know. So first on the list is MR 594. Buy stop 604 with a stop right over here. Call it 550. The next one is KOP. Highs 42.11. Buy stop 42.21. Stop at 41.20. $41 a share. LLNW down 3 days in a row to the top momentum name. Buy stop 437. Stop at 414. That's the initial stop. We're going to try to sell some on the way up and raise the stop accordingly without choking the trade. Spartan Motors. Again, triple inside day. 1793 is the high. Buy stop 1803. Stop loss, call it 1720. Rite Aid. Okay. Buy stop 1003. Stop. You can use Friday's low 930. That'll work for me as the initial stop. And CLW 2197 is the high. Buy stop 2207. Stop at 2090. I'm going to do another video. Let's see, what time is it? 5. I'm going to do another video. And then we're going to look at the high cap, high price liquid names to see if we can find some setups. All right, so trade them well and be well.